They thought they knew the Philippines. They thought they knew what Filipinos were like. But everything changed the moment their son stepped onto Filipino soil. Because what Filipinos did next was something no one warned them about. This is the story Korean parents never expected. Before the drama, before the culture shock, before the moment that changed everything, there was silence. A silence filled with assumptions, fears, and a belief they thought was unbreakable. If you had asked these parents just 1 year earlier, would you ever send your son to the Philippines? They wouldn't have paused. They wouldn't have hesitated. They wouldn't have even considered the question. Their answer would have been firm, almost automatic, never. Not because they hated the Philippines, not because they looked down on anyone, but because of everything they had heard. Stories passed from friend to friend, warnings whispered over dinner, old fears disguised as advice. Back then their world was small, defined by what they thought they knew, shaped by what others told them, limited by their own imagination. But life has a strange way of challenging the things we're most certain about. And sometimes all it takes is one opportunity, one moment, disguised as a risk, to turn a family OS fear into the beginning of a story they never expected to tell. Because 1 year after saying never, these same parents would face a decision that would test their beliefs, their courage, and their understanding of an entire country. They didn't know it yet, but life was already shifting around them, quietly guiding them toward a truth that would change their son's future and their own. They had no idea that the country they once doubted would become the place that taught their son the most beautiful lessons of his life. Because while they were busy fearing the unknown, life had a different plan. Smart, not in a loud or boastful way, but in the gentle, observant way that made teachers smile and classmates admire him from a distance. He was 12 years old, right in that fragile space between childhood and growing up. And yet he carried one passion that burned brighter than anything else in his life: English. He practiced it alone at night, mimicking the voices he heard on YouTube, studying every accent, every rhythm, every rise and fall of each sentence. He dreamed of speaking confidently, not just fluently but with purpose. Then one ordinary afternoon a letter arrived, a letter that would change the direction of his small world. Dajan had been accepted into an international school in the Philippines. His parents stared at the email, their excitement instantly drowned by a wave of fear. Their hands froze on the screen. Their hearts raced, their minds filled with questions they weren't ready to face. Almost immediately, the warnings began. Friends shook their heads. Don't do it. It's dangerous. He'll be alone. What if he can't adjust? Send him somewhere else, anywhere else. Every voice around them seemed to push them backwards, away from the unknown, away from this strange idea of sending their only son to a country they had never fully understood. And for weeks, the house was filled with tension. Late-night conversations, silent dinners, endless research, arguments whispered behind closed doors. The parents were close to saying no, so close to shutting the door on the opportunity that could change their child's life. But then during one quiet evening, as they sat exhausted from all the worrying and debating, Dajan stepped forward. His voice was soft but steady, the kind of steadiness that only comes when a child knows exactly what he wants. And he said one sentence, a sentence so honest, so pure, it pierced straight through their fears. Mom, Dad, I want to go. Let me try. It wasn't a request. It wasn't rebellion. It was courage, the first spark of the young man he would become. And in that moment, something shifted. The weight of the decision slipped from the parents' hands. Their fears didn't disappear, but they no longer controlled the outcome. Because from that moment on, the decision was no longer theirs. It was his. Dajan lands in Manila. The doors of the airport slide open, and suddenly the world he knew feels very far away. A rush of warm, humid air hits his face. People speaking a language he barely understands. Taxi drivers calling out destinations. Families laughing. Vendors shouting. The smell of street food drifting through the air. Everything is new. New sounds. New faces. New rhythm. New weather. New everything. And inside him, two feelings collide. There's excitement, the kind that makes his heart beat faster, the kind that whispers, "You're starting something big." But there is also fear. Quiet, heavy fear sitting in his chest, reminding him that he's thousands of miles away from the two people who have always protected him. His parents watch through video calls, smiling as wide as they can, pretending everything is fine. Are you eating well? Is your room okay? Do you like your teachers? But when the call ends, they sit in the silence of their living room, staring at the frozen screen where their son's face used to be. And in that silence, they whisper the question they are too afraid to say out loud. Did we make a mistake? Because sending your child across the world isn't something any parent does easily. And for a moment, a long, painful moment, it almost feels like the answer might be yes. But deep down, they hold on to hope. Hope that this choice, this sacrifice, will shape their son into someone stronger, braver, and wiser, even if right now it doesn't feel like it. This is where most viewers would expect things to fall apart. And the truth is, they almost did. Because the first week was nothing like the picture they imagined. Daejin struggles. Not just a little, but in the way a child struggles when the world suddenly feels too big. He can't understand some accents. His classmates speak fast, mixing English with Filipino words. And by the time he makes sense of the first sentence, they've already moved on to the next. He feels lost in class. The lessons are familiar, but the environment is not. New rules, new faces, new expectations. He nods when he doesn't understand. He smiles when he wants to break. During recess, he sits on the far end of a table, picking at his food while other kids laugh in groups. He wonders if he'll always be the outsider, the new kid, the one who talks differently. And that first night, when the lights turn off and the noise of Manila fades into a distant hum, Daejin cries. Not loudly, but quietly, the way strong kids do. The kind of crying that tries not to be heard. The kind that says, I miss home. I miss safety. I miss the life I understood. And back home, thousands of miles away, his dad sits on the edge of his bed, phone in his hand, guilt in his chest. He says the words no parent wants to say. If he suffers one more day, I'm bringing him home. His voice cracks. His wife turns away so he won't see her tears. They feel helpless, like they've thrown their son into the deep end and now they're rewatching him struggle from a world away. But life wasn't finished with Daejin. Because sometimes, right when everything feels like it's falling apart, something shifts, something unexpected, something quiet but powerful, something that none of them, not Daejin, not his parents, not even you, saw coming. Something was about to happen. That would change everything. The next day during recess, something small but powerful happens. Daejin sits alone. Then he hears footsteps. Someone taps his shoulder. 3 Filipino kids stand in front of him. But they don't laugh. They don't tease. They don't walk away. They say, hey bro, wanna hang with us? We'll help you out. Come, we'll teach you. In that moment, his entire world shifts. This was the first thing Filipinos did that his parents never expected. They welcomed him. Fully, immediately, like family. But the moment that truly shocked the parents came 2 weeks later. Daejin was being teased by older kids. They mocked his Korean accent. He froze. Before he could even speak, 4 Filipino classmates stepped in front of him. One said, hey, back off. He's our friend. The bullies walked away. Filipinos didn't just welcome him. They defended him, protected him, stood beside him. That night, on a video call, Daejin told his parents what happened. His mother cried. Not out of fear, but out of relief. From that day forward, Daejin was never alone. Filipino kids taught him how to say opo, kuya, and showed him how to ride a jeepney. Helped him understand English slang. Invited him to birthdays, shared their lunch with him. Treated him like he belonged. His parents were stunned. Because in every video call, Daejin looked happier, more confident, more alive. They didn't expect Filipinos to give their son something he never had back home. A community, a family, a home. One day during a school program, Daejin speaks on stage, in English, fluent, clear, fearless. Filipino classmates cheer for him louder than anyone else. His father watches the video recording over and over. Then he whispers, Filipinos did this. They helped him become who he is. This was the moment the parents finally understood. They didn't send their son to a country. They sent him to people with heart. By the end of the school year, Daejin had changed. He was confident, brave, independent, kind. Filipinos shaped him. Filipinos lifted him. Filipinos guided him. And his parents? They became the ones telling other Korean families, don't fear the Philippines, fear missing the opportunity to discover its people. Filipinos didn't just surprise a Korean family. They transformed a young boy's life. They proved once again that kindness is powerful. that unity is real, and that the Filipino heart is like no other. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and share this story. Because here on Global Echo, we bring the world the stories that deserve to be heard.